Anthony Crimmins, StickStar Lacrosse, leading the discussion here to educate, advocate, celebrate, and inform. And today we're going to talk about Texas box lacrosse, and specifically we're going to talk about the Capital Cup box tournament hosted by SouthStar. We're going to talk about our upcoming training that we have going on in Dallas and Houston. We are also going to cover why you should play box travel, because it's the best for a lot of different reasons. And then we're going to talk about the calendar and what makes the calendar and having no calendar in the state of Texas, why it really affects box lacrosse and why that's something that we should change. So again, this is the discussion we're about to have. We hope you'll check it out on our YouTube channel. Now let's go ahead and get into it. So yeah, we played this weekend at the Capital Cup, hosted by SouthStar at Soccer Zone Lakeline, Cedar Park. Awesome little barn. And got to say, it was a great time. Coach Burke is a believer in box lacrosse. I would say he's one of the major proponents for box in the state from a high school standpoint, so much so that he decided to hold a tournament and just to ensure that his players could play box. That's one of the reasons we've always held tournaments, because we think it's important, and we appreciate the fact that he did it. So we wanted to go and celebrate and just get down there and support him in this endeavor, because, you know, we got to stick together. So we really appreciate what he did, and it was a great time. Small tournament, but that's really all you need when it comes to box, is you just need to have a small, close group who's willing to play. And there were 3 brackets. There was the 7th, 8th, there was the JV, and then there was the high school. So we played along with Westlake and Gateway and Georgetown. At the youth level, SouthStar had a team. Lake Travis, Mission had squads. So it was a great tournament. Anderson was participating as well. And it was just a great local box tournament, which is something we need more of. Great competition. Ultimately, it really doesn't matter. You go out there and you improve when you play box. If you have a box style and understanding, you improve at a different rate. But ultimately, the athleticism down there was great. I was super impressed by Ryan Disk and his Gateway group. They're doing a great job training the game. So all in all, we thought that the tournament down there, the Capital Cup, hosted by SouthStar, was an incredible event. And we will attend any event that they have moving forward, assuming that we could have a team. So great job, Coach Burke and the rest of the team. So we think playing box is super important. That's why we attended that tournament. And the teams that attended that tournament, for us, improved a great deal. We feel good about our box program, and we feel good about the result that we had down there. Ultimately, it was a function of the fact that our kids have played box. They've hit the road. They understand things. They understand subbing, defense, movement, the nuances of how to win the whistle and get down the field, and subbing to create an advantage, and just a variety of different aspects that, for traveling and training for 10 years with our program, we do have box culture. So that was great. But how do you get that? You get that by training. And we're about to start training for our box program. It's the winter months-ish. It's still 90 degrees outside. But it's time to start training. It's going to get kind of crummy. The weather's going to turn a little bit. So for November and December, whether you're in Dallas or in Houston, we will have training. In Dallas, we will have training on Tuesdays from 5:30 to 6:30 and 6:30 to 7:30. We're going to look to play, but we're also going to look to train, because it's important to do both. The same can be said for in Houston. We are going to play and train on Thursday nights at Battle Line. So you've got Dallas training on Tuesdays, 5:30 to 7:30, and then you have Houston training, 6:30 to 8:30 on Thursdays. We hope you'll make it. There's a lot of reasons for it. We're not going to go into them very in-depth on this one, but ultimately, all of your players are going to learn a ton. And that can also be said for box travel. So if you want to understand the benefits of box travel, keep on listening to the next clip. So for box travel, clearly we think box travel is important because it exposes you to an entirely different world of travel lacrosse. We will head to the Vegas tournament with a 7th, 8th grade team. There's a couple spots left on that squad. And then our goal is to take a 5th, 6th, and a 7th grade team to the Florida Regional U.S. Box Qualifier at the end of January, beginning of February. There's a possibility that we go to Wasatch before, and there's a possibility that we have a high school team at one of those two tournaments. If you're interested in playing box travel, please go ahead, head over to StickStarLacrosse.com, fill out the prospective player form, and we'll look to get you integrated. Now, why box travel? Because it's going to make your kid tougher. Continue to develop them and their toughness. We're not saying your kid's soft, right? But they will be tougher. There is a certain level of physicality that you play box with, that you need to be comfortable with. If you don't play box on the road and you play box, you're going to kind of lose it a little bit from a physicality standpoint. Everything is going to turn into this macho contest, especially if you're not wearing enough pads. But if you do play a lot of box, you're going to understand the physicality that comes with it. That doesn't mean you're not going to get into it as well, but you're just going to be more used to it. And ultimately, over time, your kids will become tougher than a lot of their peers. Now, if you are not one of the top 5 to 6 to 7 players on your field travel team, you are going to get more value out of traveling for box than you are on that field team. You're going to be the man in the arena. You're going to learn so much about yourself. 7th, 8th grade, 5th, 6th grade. 5th, 6th grade, 7th, 8th grade, no-brainer. The amount of interaction that you're going to have with the game is going to be way, way, way higher. Now, if you travel 4 to 6 times a year for field and you don't travel once for box, you're kind of missing the mark just a little bit. It's really something that is going to add a tremendous amount of value to your game. So again, we're traveling to Vegas and to Florida, potentially Wasatch. 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th grade, and high school guys, welcome to participate. Please fill out a prospective player form on our website, StickStarLacrosse.com. Your kids will get better. They should attend training prior to that in November and December in Houston or in Dallas. And we look forward to getting your kids in the rink so that they can continue to improve at an accelerated rate. Finally, why is box so difficult to play in Texas? It's because we don't have a calendar. You can literally play field lacrosse all year in the state of Texas. Please observe. You try out in July, sometimes, and August. And then you start to what? You start to practice for select season. And then we have field season, which also ramps up during football, which doesn't make a lot of sense, but that's how it works. So then you're playing field lacrosse from July until sometime in December because you're also traveling for field. Local programs will play from September and October, and then they'll kind of shut it down because that's when the select programs really ramp up. November, December, and January. So then, right there, you're in January. You're in the mix. You're traveling for field select lacrosse. And then, guess what? You're probably starting up your rec programs practice in January or February. So now, you're locked in. It's field season, baby. January or February. And now, you continue to play through roughly April, which is the end of the regular season. So now you've played field from January or February until April. And then guess what? Time to get back at it. May. Select lacrosse really ramps up again. And now you're playing select lacrosse all the way from May, June, and then July. You're kind of starting to shut it down because, you're kind of getting burnt out. But guess what? It's time to try out again, guys. Let's lock it in for the next year. So right now, you start to see that the entire schedule in Texas is built around field, clearly because the weather never goes terrible, or we go to seek better weather to play in. When most of the United States, their weather has turned off, and now they got to get into the rink. We understand it's hard to get into the rink, and there's not a ton of rinks, but there are some, but there's no time for it. So that's one of the biggest issues. There's a lot of issues when it comes to calendar and Texas lacrosse in general, but the calendar is an issue. So at some point, you got to get into the rink. And if you're going to get into the rink with Texas Box, baby. We're going to be training, we're going to be playing, getting on the road, doing stuff locally here on the rink. We hope to get you involved with our program. Anthony Crimmins, for the love of sport, leading the discussion about Texas Box Lacrosse. We appreciate the Capital Cup run by SouthStar. Coach Burke's the man. And again, we're here to educate, advocate, celebrate, and inform. Go ahead, like, share, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Watch this. Share it with 5 people. Share all of our content. We would greatly appreciate it, and we look forward to speaking again with you real soon. Thank you so much.